everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Always Be Classy podcast. I've got a really great guy here today for our show, Mr. Joel Mandelbaum. He is a best-selling author and one of the smartest marketing people that I know to date. Welcome, Joel.
Thank you, Ari. What a great way to introduce me, but thank you so much. That was wonderful. And it's a pleasure to be here.
Perfect. Why don't you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself for those who might not know you?
So a little bit about myself. I've always been an entrepreneur. I think my last job, I was 18, 19 years old, pumping gas for one of the majors, and I just got sick of it. My parents decided they weren't going to pay for my university. So I thought, okay, they're not going to pay for my university. I wanted to start a business. So I started a business. I took some savings. And so since the age of 19, I guess I haven't worked for anyone. So I'd probably be a really bad employee. So I built a company we were in 2 countries doing 7 figures. And I owned that company, had a great team, sold it back in 2012 and got into the online space because I never took advantage of the internet really to build my business. I did a silly little Google campaign for $100 for 1 month and didn't get any business. And I thought, okay, the internet doesn't work. I'll just keep doing what I was always doing. You know, I started my business at 19. So I thought I knew it all. But by this time, 24 years later, I'd realized that technology had surpassed. And after I sold, I'm like, oh, I should have. So I realized at that point, I wanted to pursue technology. And the fastest moving technology, of course, is the internet. And spent the last 7 years building a team, working with people that do unusually effective things on the internet that are not normal or usual, which of course gives my clients a massive advantage over their competitors. How do you beat your competitors online? Well, you just have to have a better technology that appeals to search engines and such. And there you go. And all of a sudden your business changes. Well, relatively quickly. There is no overnight success in business or online for most. It's a very small select few that get to be big and famous like you, Ari. So, I mean, we all have to, it takes time like anything of value, but you can do it more quickly in some cases than in most other traditional methods. So then I wrote a book and here I am today. That's my life. And I'm married, happily married for 12 years. We have a fur baby. So we have a cat, a striped tabby. She's gorgeous. And luckily, she's been with us very healthy for about 15, 16 years. And we live north of Toronto, the 3 of us, and have grown closer together during this pandemic. So we consider ourselves very lucky and grateful.
Awesome. Great. Well, thank you for taking the time to tell us a little bit about yourself. So the type of experience that you had when you first got into marketing and search engine optimization with Google, how many other business owners do you think face a similar situation when they start?
Oh, wow. I would say if you take for the exception of the ones that know marketing, that know their target client, that know online marketing, like you're going to have a percentage of those. But I would say the majority of us that were not in that, I would say at least 80% of business owners, 70 to 80% of business owners fail at online for many reasons. And it's really a lot of the reasons aren't their own per se. I mean, as a business owner, you must take responsibility for how your business turns out because it's all your decisions. But what you don't know could kill your business. And that's really after I sold my business, I realized how I could have had a V8 moment and sold for significantly more if I had done, a few things that were common business practices in those days, which, now I see. And when I consult with my clients, most of them have it wrong. And, you're supposed to build your business. How do you know the difference whether you should use a Facebook ad, a Google ad, Instagram ad? Like, how are we supposed to know all that stuff? How do we know whether we build a WordPress site or a Wix site or a Shopify? How do we know what's best for us? And multiple other things. How do we know that the content in our website is going to appeal to a search engine because it's written in a way to allow a search engine to understand what you do better? Like, how do we know those things and hundreds of other things? We don't, because we're busy building our business. And how can we be good at building our business? If I'm a lawyer, I'm not supposed to be necessarily an online marketer, because I should be defending my clients, not wasting time figuring out how to market my company. Things
Absolutely.
like this. In my book, it's a story of a lawyer. And we don't make fun of lawyers. So, but it's actually the main character is the rendition of all of my clients into one into one personality. And you have to really give yourself, as a business owner, credit. We can't be holding all the hats. Pay the people to do what they do best, so you can do what you do best. That's my big lesson. That was my big lesson.
Awesome. That's great. So taking a look at the 80% that aren't coming into business with a marketing background, like a lawyer, like a dentist, like a different type of consultant, what should be the first few steps that they should take when taking into consideration marketing, if they're looking to do it on their own?
So the first thing I will highly recommend as a lawyer is do not, or anybody for that matter, unless your time is either worth very little compared to what it should be worth, or you really have zero money. So what I mean by that is, where everything starts now, especially with what's happened over the last 9 months, everybody's online. Look at Shopify's revenue, just ridiculous, but that's good, because now that's where most people are. So that's where most of your customers are. And the online, I say to my clients all the time, it's a great equalizer, because you can be massive in the real world and be pea-sized online with no visibility. Conversely, you could be pea-sized in the real world and look massive online, and really doesn't matter. So again, it's almost in a sense an equalizer, and very few people understand that. But in terms of, sorry, what was the question again?
I tend to. And the question was, what is the first thing that a non-marketing person can do?
Make sure you build a wickedly good website that reflects the value of what you give. So if you are a $100 an hour lawyer, but if you're $1,000 an hour lawyer and your website shows you it's an old site that doesn't look good, no one's going to pay $1,000 an hour. Your website has to match the type of business you are, the value people are going to get, the perception. Before you do any marketing, don't spend a dime on any marketing until your website is fully beautified in terms of all the triggering of the marketing signals in there, making sure there's enough content in there. Don't do it yourself. Get someone that has experience in developing websites. Don't get your son's, daughter's, friends, cousins at a design school to build your site, because they may build it more beautifully on the outside, but inside of a site is just like building a custom home. It has to be built properly. And these are things that a designer may not necessarily know unless they've gone to web building school, if you will, because there's things that you don't see from the outside that could highly affect positively or negatively how you get shown up on the internet, how you get ranked in search engines. This is extremely important. You can't leave the driving engine of your business, which will start off at your website, up to somebody that doesn't understand business and doesn't understand what your industry may or may not need to see when they land on your website. So it's very important that you start off getting a good website built that is appealing to my eyes. And by the way, if you have a site that's more than 4 or 5 years old, it's time to change. Again, internet technology moves fast. You need to upgrade. It needs to look good. So you want to look on the internet like you would in your beautiful office. Really, that's really all the change has been, from your office to the internet. So make sure that your site looks exactly like what you want to portray to your customers in terms of high value and good service.
And where does content marketing fit into the whole picture? Because I know that there are different schools of thought. Some people will say, go out and build a website right away. And other people will say, I didn't build a website for 2 years until I built up my name and was producing a lot of content that people would care to go and look to.
Right.
So where does content marketing fit into this?
Content marketing is obviously a broad term. It could mean content marketing could be blogging because you're putting your content on multiple channels to market your business and yourself. Content marketing could be just adding more content to your website that's relevant, that's not duplicated, but unique and originated by you or your team or whoever you get to write your content, making sure that when I come on your site and I read whether it's your blogs or the pages in your website when your website's being built, it actually starts at your website. Now, in terms of, there's two questions you've asked me. I'll get to the second one in terms of, someone building their, let's say, their profile out on social for a couple of years before they build their site. But really, at the end of the day, what do you want me to see about you? There's a lot of statistics out. Even Forbes says if you don't have a website, you're losing business, because a website is where everybody goes to see what your credibility is. Even if you're not selling something online, let's say, maybe you're an accountant and you're just trying to get more clients. Maybe you're a service based, it's how is my perception of you, because I'm not going to buy from you unless I trust you. And unless I formulate a trusting opinion of you, and I don't, if for a moment I don't, boom, I'm gone. I don't even consider you anymore. That's how quickly we make our decisions. So content marketing is also positioning yourself. What message do you want to give out to the world about your business or your brand? At the end of the day, what do you want the perception of you to be? So really take a deep understanding of how you want the world to see you, because, once it's out there, it's there forever, and it's tough to get removed. It's just like reviews. If someone leaves you a negative review on a third-party site, it's next to impossible to get it removed. Things like this, all about content. So in terms of where do you start, content on your website, if you're going that route, make sure that the content is written, it's unique, it's original. Make sure that the content that you post on your site is never duplicated from some other website, unless you're linking it as a citation or as a link to the content, because you can get penalized for that. It also content marketing on your social channels. Be careful, of course, what you say. If you're, two things that I always say, if we're talking business, is never put anything political or religious on your business channels like LinkedIn. And I respect all religions. I respect everybody and love everybody. However, those types of topics can incite emotion. They can trigger negative emotions in people. You just want to be serving your clients in the best way possible without triggering any types of emotions. So if that's who you're posting to, could be something relevant of the day. But again, be careful when you're posting as well. So content marketing, very important. So in terms of the person that waited, really at the end of the day, again, do you want the only thing showing up about you, your posts on Facebook? Because if I type in your name and all you have is a Facebook page or a LinkedIn page, that's all I'm going to see. And then once I'm on LinkedIn, you know what happens. Oh, I look at this message came in. This new person wants to connect with me. The amount of dedicated attention that I'm going to give you that's needed to close a sale is going to be completely decimated once I'm into LinkedIn. Because, there's a red dot. We're all Pavlov's dog. Who wants to be my friend? Who wants to connect with me? Oh, look, and you're just like a figment of my imagination, not even anymore. So you want to make sure that your content is good enough to keep me on your website. You also want to make sure that when you put content on a search on a platform like LinkedIn, that you link that content back to your site's blog, let's say. So now you're bringing people into your website, which of course gets you better rankings in search engines. So it's very important. I can't stress. I could go on for another hour, but I won't stress how important content is. And done correctly could be the difference from someone buying from you, becoming a new client, becoming a friend. Who knows? But you've got to make sure that it's done correctly, not something you just spit out. Here we go. So
Definitely. And I couldn't agree with you more. One of the first things that I did when I started my business was look to get a website created. And it was for that exact reason that when someone looked me up or saw me somewhere else, I wanted them to see an online presence.
Yep. Your website is your resume. And that's the first place people go, by the way. I don't care what they say. First place they're going to go when they hear from you is your website. They're going to go there to see if you're a subject matter expert. So what are your blogs like? When's the last time you posted a blog? Oh, it was a year ago? Because you're not staying relevant. You can't teach me something. I'll go to your competitor who just posted an article. I was posting blogs every week because they're relevant. Oh, I can read. I'm more comfortable. It's starting to build the know, like, trust factor, which is a very important rule to know when selling, and any business owner should know what that is. But you're starting to gain that trust by the content on your site. And then I'm going to determine by that. It's very important, because if your site, as I said, looks, really bad, then you look bad. Then you look cheap. So very important. Don't be cheap on building your site. And the site range of a cost could be obviously free if you do it yourself, and then spend 30 to 50, 60 hours on a platform for you to get it right. And really, at the end of the day, what's your time worth? Our business owners, you got to be worth at least 100 an hour, 200, 500, 1,000. Even at 100 an hour, 60 hours is $6,000. If you got a site for 4, you've just done yourself a favor. So it's really, really important to make sure that you understand that's where it starts. I tell my clients all the time, I look at their site. We do a site audit, both in marketing and in what's called SEO. In other words, was it program built properly? Was it built so search engines can recognize it better? Go through that, and we find that the majority of sites aren't built properly. So fix up your home before you bring guests over, before you sell it, so to speak. Stage it properly. All of that is the same thing with a site. So important to make sure your site is a beautiful site. And it's not about what you think it's on. It's what is going to trigger your clients to buy and connect with you. That's what's important. So that's how that content is. Sorry?
I love that comparison. It's a great comparison, comparing your home and inviting someone to your home as your website, because it's true. At least for myself, if I'm inviting somebody over, whether it's my parents or some friends, I'm going to clean up.
Right.
I'm going to make sure that it looks nice, because it's a reflection on me. And the same should be said about all aspects of yourself when you're online.
Absolutely.
So when it comes to marketing, and you have your website, you have your content put in there. Now it's coming time to actually spend some money to try to attract people to come to you. Where should somebody look to start spending some money?
So I brand myself as your digital Sherpa, because, if you're going to go up Mount Everest, you need to hire a Sherpa or you're dead. And as I said, majority of business owners really don't know the path. So that's what I take my clients along. So once we start here and get your website looking properly, all the triggers, very important. Once that's done, now we want to know, now all you have really is a grain of sand on a beach. Let's be realistic. There's millions and hundreds of millions of websites out there. What do you matter in terms of, I'm not someone who knows who you are, but I need your products. You just started the game. So great. So I have a site now just for the people that I know. That's really all I have. So how big is my circle? If you have a massive circle of influence, well, get it out there. Send out email campaigns, text marketing campaigns, call them, do whatever it takes. But if you don't, and you're just starting, you don't have a big database, well, you got to start, and you can't expect miracles to happen right away. So what you need to do now is drive traffic to your website. See your website as a storefront or your office. Really, that's all it is in the 21st, pandemic world and moving forward. It's only going to be the same thing, but we need to change our perception. Really, the way people buy, the way people, we still do it the same way, but we look for that validation, that trust factor. So what you need to do is you have to make sure that your site can tell you the amount of people that come on a daily basis, where they come from, and you can get these analytics built into your site so you can see them, so you can start to understand who is the traffic, the demographic of the traffic that comes to your site. Because what's happening is your site's content is being crawled by search engines and it's being ranked. If you have traffic without spending any money, then that means your site is showing up when people do searches, and not your name, because people don't know who you are. How would they know to put your name in? I talk to clients all the time. Yeah, I put my website in search and I'm on page 1. I say, well, that's great. I put my name in. Of course, you're on page 1. But if I'm in, Burlington and I'm looking for a jeweler in Toronto, I don't know to put in your name, because I have no clue. I put in jeweler in Toronto, or wedding jeweler in Toronto, or where can I buy, cheap jewelry, whatever that search might be. There's thousands and tens of thousands. You're never showing up in those, ever. So when I show them, they're like, oh, I guess not. So again, how do you appeal to those thousands and thousands and thousands of searches? You put in a search into a search engine and say Google, because most people use Google. You look at the top left-hand corner if you're on your laptop or desktop. This does not apply to mobile. And it'll show you how many other pages it found in like a microsecond that were similar to your search. And usually it's like tens or hundreds of millions. So how do you get there on the front page? That's, again, how do you get that traffic? So if you're getting traffic without paying for it, that's called organic traffic, which is the first type of traffic. It's cheap because it doesn't cost you really anything. It's just a byproduct of what you're doing with your site and a whole bunch of other things. And it just comes. So that's great. You got your traffic. The second thing is, the second type of traffic, as an example, right? So if we see up there, Google found, I think that's 860,000 what's known as competing web pages in less than a second, and it brought you an ad. And as you scroll down below the ad, only about 10%, 15% of the people look at the ads, because we know that they pay for it. So it really doesn't necessarily make them special. They could afford an ad budget. And now we have the maps. So what Google does is it tracks your IP address. So it brings you the closest businesses to your search based on where it sees your IP address. There is ways of fooling Google too on that, but we won't get into that today. If you scroll down, now this is known as the organic. So organic means that it just shows there because Google thought it was relevant to what you searched. Google has to bring you the best search results, or you go use another search engine. For how big Google is, they make most of their money on those ads at the top and bottom of the page. A significant amount of their money. Take away Android, take away driverless cars, take away all the other Google stuff. They're still a monster company. So don't be fooled. They don't want you to leave. Bing is still a big search engine. Yahoo is still it's not as big as it used to be, but still a lot of people use Yahoo. Then we get into, cultural search engines. A lot of Asian people use Baidu, Chinese search engine. There's one called DuckDuckGo that doesn't track your search habits. There's one called Ecosia that will actually donate ad revenue to a environmentally friendly charity. So, people can now choose, and Google doesn't want to lose market share because they make a lot of money. So they want to bring you the best results possible in the organic spaces between the ads. And so how do you get that traffic there? Well, you can pay for it. So pay Google ads, Facebook ads, LinkedIn, Instagram ads. That's one way, but it has to be done right again. Just because you pay a lot of money to get people to your site doesn't mean they're going to call. You're just paying for someone to go click, and that's it. But guess what? Your competitors go, oh yeah, I know you're paying $20 for one click, click. And then they get their wife to do it, click. They get their employees to do it, click. They go home, click, because it's on different tracking addresses. Even though if you keep clicking, it only counts once. But Google tracks the IP address. It's called click fraud. Everyone does it. I don't. It's very unethical, but it's done everywhere. So that can circumvent your Google ad budget. Not so easy to do that on Facebook the same way. So now you got paid traffic. It is. You know what? But it's done all the time, and it causes the cost per click to accelerate because it's all done on a bidding system. You know, I have clients in the personal injury law space, and I would say that that is the most expensive around that insurance cost for one click. I have seen cost for one click. In other words, you click on a personal injury lawyer's ad, I've seen them as high as $300, $400 for one.
Jeez.
Can you imagine the budget they need just to stay competitive? Their budget's not $5,000 a month.
It's 50.
Yeah, 100, 200, 300 a month, because they can get, but you got to look at this. Why is it so competitive? It's on a bidding system. Those ads started off at 50 cents probably way back years ago. The reason it's so competitive is because they can win one case and get, you know, after the settlement, their cut could be $500,000, $1 million, maybe more. So it's worth it for them, and they keep bidding up the price. I wonder where that what's called market equilibrium will happen in that industry. But then in other industries, it's 50 cents. But doesn't matter. Click, click, click. Facebook does it clicks too, but much differently. And you know, you really have to make sure that the person you use, and don't try to do Facebook ads yourself unless you want to spend the time learning it, how to get the algorithm to approve the ads, what size ads, you know, text versus picture. You don't want to get into that rabbit hole. You just want to build your business. So get someone that understands the Facebook algorithm, get someone that understands the Google algorithm, get someone that understands the LinkedIn or Instagram algorithm to do your ads for you to drive that paid traffic. Organic traffic, you see, this is where everybody says, I want to be on page one. I want to be on page one. Of course you do, because that's where you're going to get the most amount of free traffic. But the problem is, as you saw, 800,000 competing web pages, 10 spots between the ads on page one. And in most cases, 800,000 results are not a lot. But those are lottery odds in some cases. So no one can get them unless you deal with content in a way that enables Google to see you as like a Wikipedia. You do a search under factoid information, Albert Einstein, Wikipedia pulls up something. You put in speed of light, Google references Wikipedia they pull from. So when you type in something that should be around your industry that you'd like to show up, how do you become that type of Wikipedia in your industry? Because you're not competing against Wikipedia. You're only really competing against the saturation of content that your industry has, and even more so, the content that's competing with what you want to show up under in terms of search terms, keywords, and content that revolves around that. That's really what you're looking at. So, I mean, my team has been building out a technology where we've had our clients rank multiple spots on multiple search engines without having to pay a search engine, which drives significant traffic to their brand and their whole online presence. But what it doesn't do is it doesn't make the phone ring. It doesn't make people send you money. That's important to get your traffic to your site. But there's still
one. It's got to be good.
Yeah, still that's what also gets organic traffic to your site. Is your site good? But there's still one final piece of the puzzle. I guarantee you, I can get you organic traffic like you have no idea. My clients get excited and they get it. We track it, and they're wondering, not now, of course, but back in the day before we had the whole system put together. Now what do? I'm getting the traffic. I don't know. Well, you got to put a special on your website. You know, you got to, what do you do? So we have another technology that helps that conversion once they land on your website, engaging with them, having conversations with them, starting that no like trust factor. Starts off when I'm doing a search or clicking on an ad and I see you show up, or I see your ad, then I land on your site. What do I see? You've got 2 to 4 seconds to make me go, interesting. And guess what I do after I look at your site and I like what you see? I want to see, if I like what I see, I want to buy from you or call you on. Now I want to know what your reputation's like. So now I go online and I check your reputation. We all look at reviews. There's another problem, is that you made me leave your website. Now what? Now I've gone. Not a good thing. So how do you keep people on your site? There's many things you can do in terms of putting reviews on your site, content, special offers. But once they're on your site, if you can interact with them, your engagement's going to go through the roof. Problem is most businesses don't do it, and the ones that do it through types of chats and stuff like that don't do it correctly and really blow it. Because one of the biggest problems with having interactions on your website is responding quickly, having someone, that knows what to say and do to move that potential lead from a traffic on your site to a potential client to buying from you or signing up or booking an appointment or whatever your funnel is. That's something that the client of mine has to understand. They have to be able to do the final mile or the final centimeter, if you will, in converting that client. I can bring the horse to your door. I can put its head by the water, but you're the one that's going to have to make it drink. But I can tell you, when we get to that point, your chances of success are exponentially higher than they were if you did it yourself, that's for sure, by bringing on the right people to do what you need to do. And that's the only way you're going to succeed, unless you have millions of dollars in budget and you just throw it everywhere. Some of it sticks, some of it doesn't, and you just do more of what does. It's essentially what we do, but on a much smaller scale, of course. Although we do have some large brands that have that attitude when I meet with them. And after I meet with them, I give them a head shake. It's all about how much does it cost to bring the traffic to your site, not necessarily how you do it. So if you can keep your mind open, then you can get some pretty unconventional ways that could make you appear much bigger than your competition online. So I like to tell my clients, so we can crush the competition. It's always a nice day to see a small client crushing a large client online in terms of visibility. It's a remarkable feeling that I've got addicted to. So
definitely,
yeah, there you go. Get the traffic and convert
I know
it.
exactly what you're talking about, and it goes back to my headline on LinkedIn, which is anybody can sell. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what's your background. Anybody can sell.
Right.
They just need the right foundation for it.
They need the passion too.
Passion is also very important.
One thing, the reason I am so passionate about what I do is because I failed as an online marketer. I'm actually going to be on a webinar on Wednesday at from 12 to 1. And I'm going to be talking about gaining trust online in a socially distanced world. And I'll tell you, I failed as an online marketer. I failed miserably. And my passion came one day when I realized that I have tools and strategies that no one else in the world has. And especially in the digital space, there's so much competition. I always say there's these big SEO and web companies that say they get you ranked. Why do they use ads? If they can get you ranked in organic searches between the ads, then how come they're not everywhere? It just baffles. Why are you guys using ads? To maybe advertise, do Google ads, but really they don't. Well, some do. Some are very good. Let me not, I don't want to pigeonhole everyone. But again, like in any industry, there's those cream of the crop at the top. Those people I have awesome respect for that have figured it out. You get everybody else that's kind of hum-ho, that claims no.
Exactly.
So the proof of the pudding is in the eating. So really for me, my passion is really when I realized how bad I was, and I spent 7 years developing a global team that knew it segmented. In other words, one does specifically this, one does specifically this, but they're all good at it. I realized I can help my clients win. They won't fail like me. My passion was to help my clients, always has been, and that's why I built up such a big company at a young age, because I was always passionate about helping the clients. I had someone call me the other day, say, Joel, I saved $10,000. I said, what do you mean? He's like, well, he didn't call me, he emailed me. He's like, I know the difference between a landing page and a home page now. And I said, well, how did that save you 10 grand? He said, well, my web developer wanted to build me a new website. for a campaign I'm doing on Facebook. And I thought, no, I don't need a new website, just need a landing page. He wants to charge me $10,000 for a website. I was like, that's nuts. I said, and I looked at his site. He had built the site 2 years ago. It was fine.
It's hilarious.
And he said, because I read your book, I was actually able to identify that. And I said, did you also identify that 10,000 for a site was way too much anyway for his type of site? He just, like way overboard from what he wanted. Sites based on functionality. A site could be $3,000, 2,000. It could be 50, 100, a million. Really, what do you want it to do? Yep. So those things really, really stoke my passion is helping business owners win online. And that's why I wrote the book, to help them out, to really help them out.
I love it. I love it, Joel. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Always Be Classy podcast today. If people would like to get a hold of you, how can they reach you?
Oh, well, you know what I'm going to do for you, Ari, is if anyone is interested in having a further conversation with me, I'll give them a free 30-minute discovery call. We can chat about what your most burning online marketing issue is, or we can maybe delve into what some of your issues are with online growth, maybe now during the pandemic. I really would like to serve and help business owners out there. And so they can come to my actual website, which is winningonlinebook.com, just like my book, winningonlinebook.com. And when you go to my website, at the top where the menu item is over there, you will see a contact me. It's a form fill out, put in your name, number, or a name, email, just a comment. By the end of the week, I will have you can book a call with me page on there. You can reach out to me there. And for everyone today that's even further interested in learning more about controlling their online reputation, I have a technology that'll help you do that. And for a guest for being on the podcast today, we'll give you a couple of months free to try it out, so you can really just start to control your reputation, which again has to do with content marketing, but in a very, very, very strategically disruptive way. So that's something that you're going to have to reach out to me for. That's worth a couple $100. So hey, you know what? I really want to give value. If you come to the site, you can download also the 5 things every website needs to attract new clients. That document took us time to put together from a marketing perspective. So you can have that for free as well. Just put in your information, it'll download, it'll give you the document, and I'll see that you downloaded it, and I'll reach back out to you. If that's another way they can reach out to me. And that's really the best way to reach out to me. And I'd love to have a call and see if I can help.
Perfect.
So you can also go to LinkedIn, Joel Mandelbaum, of course. I'm on LinkedIn like everybody else. And that's another way they can.
Perfect. Again, Joel, thank you so much for stopping by and telling us and the viewers a little bit more about marketing and content and how to get more visibility online. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, make sure to smash that like button down below. Click follow to get all of the updates on our new guests that are coming onto the show. In the meantime, everyone, stay classy. Take care.
Stay classy. Bye.